The Every Point Sports Podcast featuring Greg and Jack starts right now.
Oh, what's up, everybody? How we feeling on a Sunday? I am Jack Stache. We've got the old gamer GK with us. Every Point Sports Podcast. Greg, how you feeling?
Oh, we're doing great. We're doing great. NFL League New Year tomorrow. NFL free agency starts tomorrow. Woo! I am ready. Oh, yes. All right. My Niners real quick. Rebuild.
Oh, dude,
You know,
so.
We got rid of what's his name? We got from the Eagles, defensive tackle. Slipping my mind. Anyways, he's gone. Debo's gone. BA's probably going to be gone. That's Brandon Ayuk for all of you guys.
I'm going to tell you guys who I like. I'm going to tell you on the 49ers who I like the best right now because there's not a lot to like.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I know Christian McCaffrey, I know, but we're going to see how well that looks when there's not a lot of weapons and Brock's kind of looking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's a budding relationship between Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think love is in the air.
Yeah.
Love is in the air. I do believe that those two are going to get on. I think that there's a good relationship building there, and it's okay that Debo has moved on, and now Brandon Ayuk also might be moving. He might not be, but we don't know.
We don't know about that yet. It's been speculated.
But if those two guys leave, everyone's going to walk away from in fantasy circle. Oh, the 49ers. I don't want to. You can draft Ricky Pearsall, and I do think he's going to return. My guess, I think he should probably go in the 5th round. You could steal him in the 9th. No one cares.
Yeah. And what about
John? How I'm feeling right now.
Juan Jennings. He had a killer year last year. Wow. You know how many games he had that was ridiculous? 10 catches, almost 200 yards, a touchdown. Oh, fantasy perspectives. Oh, he's not going to go early.
He was good. When he snuck up on teams, he was much better. When people figured him out, he was fine.
He still gets his catches. Listen, those contested balls, 90% of the time, he's coming up with them. You know,
yeah.
he's not gonna out jump you, but he's gonna out muscle you. He's gonna outwork you for that ball.
And maybe that's his forte. Maybe that's what he's really good at. And you'll get some, Taylor out of him over the years, right? It's not so much, John, but maybe you get some Taylor out of him. Oh, we've got breaking news.
All right, 1 second. I have a few more things about the Niners I want to talk about real quick. One, it's been reported we offered lowballed Brock Purdy to a $45 million a year contract. Offered him 3 years, $45 million. That would be 135 somewhere along those lines over 3 years. And they did that for the fact that the Niners control his rights for the next 3 years. He's on this contract for 5. We could franchise him next year for, I think it was I forget, like 30 something million or something like that. And then the following year we could franchise him for 41 or 42 million.
All right.
50 something million. So in 3 years, if in 3 years we can control his destiny for $97 million over 3 years is what we control him for. So we thought the Niners thought they would be nice and say, listen, we'll give you 3 years, $135 million. He snubbed at that. I don't blame him in the least bit. And again, these are contract negotiations. So, of course, I believe the Niners are going to come out with a low ball offer at $45 million. I don't think that's what he's going to end up agreeing on. I think it's going to be somewhere in the $55 million range. But anyways, for everybody is talking about, well, that's a low ball offer. Why would they do that? Well, the reason why they did it, why wouldn't you start low? And you control his rights for 3 years at 97 point odd money, $1 million for over the next 3 years. So for me, that's fine for starting off low. Just they need to get together and not carry this into free agency or into training camp like they have with Bosa, like they did with Brandon Ayuk, like with before that with Debo. Like that really starts wearing on a team, and you've seen that a little bit last year, I think, with Brandon Ayuk. Like that started wearing on the team. The team started getting a little defensive when they were talking about him. It's like he's not here. Like quit. Let's move on. Let's talk about who's here. Even Kyle said it. Let's talk about who's at camp. BA's doing his thing. Whatever they decide on is what they decide on. Let's talk about everybody that's in camp. Another quick thing I want to talk about is something that Jack and I touched on during the season about the Niners and about Kyle Shanahan and all the power that he does have. It's been reported that the owners are taking away the power from Shanahan. They want him to focus on more as a coach and a coach only. They want him to delegate more to his coordinators. They want John Lynch to step up and be more of a GM instead of a co-GM with Kyle. They want the front office to do their job and Kyle not to butt in like he did last year with Brandon Ayuk. Because they were picking last year with Brandon Ayuk, they were getting ready to pick up the phone to Pittsburgh and say, "Listen, okay, the deal is done." For the front office, they weren't re-signing him. Okay. Kyle went above the front office to the Yorks and said, "Listen, I want Brandon Ayuk," and Brandon Ayuk said, "All right." The Yorks said, "All right, get him in the building, nail it out." So Kyle pretty much went above. Not pretty much, he did. He went above the proper order, the proper structure, and went above their heads and said, "Listen, I want my guy." York said, "Okay," and they signed him to whatever he wanted, pretty much. Now, it was a little bit better cap-friendly deal for us because we can cut him or trade him without a huge cap hit like Debo. So on that aspect, that was better. But BA really got what he wanted. He got all the money he wanted, and it was because Kyle was in the room. And they said since that point, there has been fracture in the organization because of that.
San Francisco's in a lot of trouble. And this is the story of the beginning of the fall of Rome, right? The fall.
What's going on,
Rome,
Matthew?
What's up,
Thanks
guy?
for showing up.
The fall of Rome, right? There were so many generals, there weren't enough people to follow the generals, right? And Kyle Shanahan knows what he needs, right? He likes Brock Purdy. He also knows where his talent level is. He needs a wide receiver that can get separation. He doesn't believe he has that in the building besides Brandon Ayuk. He was happy to let Debo go because Debo was more of a gadget player, and Kyle can drop the plays and get that out of him. Okay. But Brandon Ayuk, he's basically going, this guy's special. I need him. Otherwise, Brock doesn't work. Here's what's going to happen. It's once the building's fractured, the foundation starts to crumble. It just does, right? You can do whatever you want to do to rework it. We pour more concrete. It's done. I think Kyle Shanahan will be there one more year. I do believe San Francisco signs Brock Purdy to whatever kind of contract, right? Whatever they get done. But the problem is going to be you're going to have Brock Purdy there, and Kyle's going to be gone. And is Brock Purdy worth what San Francisco is going to pay him without Kyle Shanahan? And I think the answer is no. He's like, I always look at, put that quarterback in the worst situation you probably could, right? Put him on the worst team. Okay. And the worst team right now to me is Cleveland, right? Who's their number one wide receiver? Jerry Jeudy, maybe. Njoku, maybe. Put him there and see how many wins he gets. And, if he can't win 7 games, which is almost near 500, right? Because you put a guy in a bad situation, he gets 7 wins, you go, okay, if we give him a little bit extra, 10, right? It's not that hard to get to 10 if you give him some talent. I don't think Brock wins 4 games in Cleveland. I really don't. And it's I like the kid. His story's great. But when we look at great stories, you have to unearth a lot of talent that somebody missed. I think he's talented. I just don't know. And he gets these stingers in games too, by the way, where he gets hit and it knocks him out. He's a smaller body player. I think he's fine. But without Kyle Shanahan, he fails.
See, I don't know about that because he has everything that you're looking for in a good quarterback besides the size, besides the arm talent. Everything upstairs that you want, he has. He throws a great anticipation ball. He knows where the receiver's supposed to be, and that's where he throws the ball. He doesn't wait till the receiver breaks. He the ball's already there before the receiver breaks. Um, Matthew says Purdy has good football IQ, and that's perfect way of putting it.
He
He
does.
has great football IQ. He's able to put the ball where it needs to be. Um, does he overthrow the ball every once in a while? Yeah, but what quarterback doesn't? Um, I think I think he gets a lot of negative stuff put on him for the fact that he did have weapons around him. That's not his fault.
Mm.
That's a good thing. That's I do I think as a rookie when he came into when he started those games when Garoppolo went out, do I think if he was on another team that was less talented, would he have won all those games? No, but that's not his fault. You can't discount him because of that. Everything you see him do, all his throws that you see are NFL throws he can make. NFL reads he can make. You and I always talk about Lawrence and these quarterbacks that have all these talents and can't read a defense. Well, Brock can read a defense. He's proved he can.
Yeah, I actually thought one of the best quarterbacks that the 49ers had, and you'll remember him, not many people will, but Jeff Garcia.
Oh yeah, I
I
love
thought Jeff
Garcia. He was a former Eagle, former Raider, Niner. He's smaller in stature. Came from the Canadian League. Won a couple great cups up there. Yeah, dude, I love Garcia.
but Garcia what Garcia did, I thought that was very important, was manage Terrell Owens.
Yeah,
Moved the ball around, but also knew when Terrell was starting to bristle a little bit and got him the ball. Right? I thought that was very important. Reminds me of Jalen Hurts being a product of the environment. I mean, look at Jalen Hurts had to work really hard. Hurts had to work really hard because he was a running quarterback. You know, he was run first, pass second, and at times when he doesn't trust himself, he still kind of he just kind of leans in a certain direction. He wants to run more. You get him a lead, and he'll chuck that thing. You get behind the sticks, and he starts doing it again. You're like, hey. It's almost like your dog's near the front door, and he's like, I just want to run out that door. I
I,
know.
I'm
Brock
with you that
Purdy.
Jalen Hurts had to work, but I think Brock Purdy had to work more. Brock Purdy was drafted last in NFL or last in the draft. Like he wasn't getting a shot unless people got hurt. Jalen Hurts was drafted to be a starting quarterback. Brock Purdy wasn't.
I mean, kind of, but
Not
Carson
not
Wentz was still there.
what's that?
Carson Wentz was still there.
Yes, but we all knew what you were getting with Wentz. With Wentz, you were getting a very good quarterback until he got hurt, which is why they drafted Jalen Hurts, is to come in and start when Wentz went down. So
Um,
he was drafted to be a starting
so
quarterback.
what I think makes a good quarterback is not arm strength. Listen, you can throw 60 yards.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
we've seen this all day. We've seen quarterbacks come in the NFL that can throw the ball 60 yards, 70
You,
yards down the field.
you can
Just because you have that arm talent doesn't mean that you could be an NFL quarterback.
you can be athletic. Great, fantastic.
hmm
But in order to be considered elite or great or whatever, I believe that you need to be able to make the wide receiver, not the wide receiver make you. Right? So, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes left, or I'm sorry, Tyreek Hill left Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City didn't shake. Oh, okay. That's fine. Right? Stephon Diggs was given to Josh Allen. They Now they have Josh Allen far enough along to where now he can make wide receivers. Right? Jalen McMillan had to fill in for Chris Godwin. Took a couple weeks. Baker Mayfield made Jalen McMillan learn all the routes, learn the throws, learn the this. Guys that can learn and make a wide receiver are great quarterbacks in this league. And we got to find out if Brock Purdy can make the players.
Well,
Like
he did Juwan Jennings.
I know. I get that. But if he doesn't have the Kyle Shanahan, it does worry me.
Mhm.
It
I
really
I think that worries me with a lot of players, that Kyle has had. You put our fullback Juice onto another team. Is he gonna be as effective on another team? No.
no, he's gonna be running the practice squad because
You know?
teams don't use only
The
one
only
team. Only one team. What's the only team he would be effective on?
Ravens?
That's a good answer. It's
Yeah.
it's the other brother, though.
Yeah, yeah.
He
Mhm.
loves fullbacks.
Oh, yeah, yeah, but, I mean, and his brother and, John also, I think he would be good over there because John used to love his fullbacks. He
I
used to
actually
actually
like that
run them too.
Scadaboo. I like that
Mhm.
Scadaboo to go to the Chargers. That'd be cool.
I like him to go to the Niners. I would like to see what Shanahan could, draw up for him.
Oh yeah, that would work too. That would take some of the burden off McCaffrey.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He's
Almost
another
turn
utility type guy, you know?
almost turn him back to scat back. Mike, yeah.
Speaking of Juice, there's rumors that we might be cutting him too. So,
Jeez.
well, I mean, for a player that 98% of the teams in NFL doesn't even carry anymore, we're paying him like 5.2 million a year. You know,
Yeah.
it's and
He'll end
he really doesn't do what he used to anymore for us. We used to be able to split him off to wide receiver. You still see that, but very rare does he get the ball thrown to him or anything. But like he's very athletic where he can do that. He's a hell of a blocker still. But again, he's not worth 5.2 million. He's just not. What, to be on the field for a handful of plays throughout the game? It's just not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically a position that is
Mhm.
antiquated now.
All right. All right. I don't want this to turn into a whole 49ers podcast. So
You started this.
I know I did, but I wanted to get that stuff out of the way because it's something that I've been wanting to talk about all week, and I couldn't wait till we talked about it. So
Let's talk
I
about the
just
player
wanted to
that
get
was
that out.
just signed.
Oh, yes. Yes. Big breaking news, guys, right before we got on. Myles Garrett. Big contract. Do you have the stuff in front of you or no?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
so it's different. Yeah, it's Myles Garrett, $123.5 million guaranteed.
mm-hmm.
I don't care how many, was it 3 years, a 4 year? I don't have the contract in front of me. I don't have the full details. It just broke. But he got $123.5 million. And
Yeah,
here's
it's
what's gone
40
on this.
mil. It's 40 mil a year. Yeah, I don't have the years here either. No trade clause in it. He signed through 2030.
Yeah.
So that 5-year contract?
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
2030.
And
So
you know what? I think Cleveland had to do something. I mean, they had to do something. Jeff Nick says till 2030. Yeah, they had to do something because your best player has watched every player that he's played with there leave and have a better life. Not just a better career, a better life. Much better life. Baker's having a better life. Odell Beckham's having a better life. Jarvis Landry went down to New Orleans. Better life. All better lives. So, I mean, Myles Garrett went, I know they say the grass isn't greener, but every Instagram and Twitter post shows those guys walking on pretty damn green grass.
well, I mean, they are the Browns. It's brown. It's in their name. If you go greener, like it's gonna be greener somewhere else.
Right. He didn't want brown grass
know.
anymore. And here's what Myles Garrett did. He requested a conversation with Haslam, right? The awful owner of the Browns who doesn't get any credit. He's 10 times worse than Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones has drafted talent. Oh well, he picks his own players and he's drafted talent. Haslam has not picked any talent. Let me explain to you what Haslam sits on the board of Tennessee Volunteer Football. Just a little backstory for you guys. Oh, good old dad jokes.
Hey, listen, we need to throw him in when we can.
He sits on the board of Tennessee Volunteer Football, okay? And and had an opportunity, did not draft Alvin Kamara. I don't know what else to help you guys with. The Haslams are awful. Maybe they're nice people. They know nothing about football, and they should sell the franchise. Now, Garrett wanted out. He requested a meeting with Haslam. Haslam said to go talk to the general manager. I think his last name is Barry. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's give you a backstory on what Barry has done with the Browns. He has drafted Myles Garrett and brought in Deshaun Watson. He might be worse than the owners are at picking football players. The only player for which he's brought in that has any value in this situation is me, Myles Garrett, and I want out. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And I want a conversation with Haslam because I want to know whether it's a rebuild or not. What are we trying to do here? And I think, some of Haslam's friends were like, yo, man, you read ESPN, Myles Garrett's looking for you. All right. And he's like, what does he want? What could Myles Garrett want with me?
I just want to come to Barry's defense a little bit about Watson. Listen, when they were getting Watson, there was plenty other teams out there that wanted him. The Browns paid more than any other team by a lot because they had to. So what they thought they were getting a good quarterback. They thought they were getting a top 5 quarterback in the league because that's what he was his last year with the Texans. He was a top 5 quarterback. He was a hell of a quarterback, young, projected. His best days wasn't behind him. They were in front of him. So the Browns and everybody else in NFL, all the other teams thought. Yes, there's some baggage that came along with them with the whole massage stuff. Yes, but they thought that was kind of taken care of. Well, little did they know, more and more would pop up. But again, when the deal was made, it looked like they were making a good move. They were getting a top quarterback. You bring in somebody like Myles Garrett, so you have your number one guy on offense. You have your number one guy on defense. Let's build around that whole that core, those 2 core guys. It just didn't work out. When Watson never recovered fully from his ACL injury, he was a lot slower. All his off the field stuff baggage really started creeping up more and more. And you and I both think that mentally that had a lot to do with his production on the field. The one constant, which you pointed out, has been Myles Garrett.
So I always think some athletes get by up here and some athletes are just pure 100% athleticism. I'll give you an example outside of the sport that we're talking about. Roy Jones Jr. I mean, Roy Jones Jr., literally, they asked him, how'd you learn your boxing style? He goes, I watched chickens fighting. And he did. He actually had so much athletic ability, he did not need to cover up. When he got older, when he started switching weight classes, right, when he got knocked out once, it was over. It was done. He was much slower. Deshaun Watson got knocked out once with that ACL, right? And he never gained all the speed back. Oh, Jack, why does that matter? Because he never had it here. He never got a guy to move. He got a guy to move because of his athletic ability. I begged and pleaded and screamed into the same microphone for scouts to look at how he gets people to move. Actually, Brock Purdy could tear an ACL and still come back and be valuable because he knows where the guys are going all the time. He has the X's and O's answers, which Deshaun Watson never had. And I begged Cleveland not to do it. I told 5 scouts on here that they were wrong, and they turned out wrong. Look at the footwork. Look at the ability. Look, once you get dropped, Pittsburgh actually ended him when he came back. The Steelers came after that man and killed him, and they went, you can get every penalty you want. We're knocking you out of the league. They did it. It was terrible. They knocked down Chubb, right? They knocked down Chubb in that game, and I don't think Chubb was part of the war. I think this was a Deshaun Watson mandated war by Mike Tomlin. And he had those players go out there, and it got so bad. Deshaun Watson went to run up field and slid. He went, you know what? I'm done here. I'm done. At that moment, he quit. At that moment, because Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin was, you know him, walking up and down that sideline like a general, going, get him again. Get him again. Like, that's just Mike Tomlin's mentality. I thought it was a terrible signing by Cleveland. You do not pay that kind of money for an athlete for which has lost a little bit of spark because he has an injury. For me, it was plain and simple. You know, as one of our favorite analysts says, Charles Bark, it's plain and simple. Show me it first, and then we'll give you the money again, or we'll bump you up with incentives. Just do that.
I had no problem with Cleveland. I mean, the guy was a winner everywhere he went. He won a high school championship. He won 2 college championships. He was one of the best college players ever to play the game. I mean, he beat some unbelievable Alabama teams. So, like, I watched a lot of Deshaun in college, a lot, and he broke my heart a lot because of Alabama. And then
He also had stability.
when he did go into the NFL, he was very good with the Texans.
You
He
had
was
stability.
a top 5 quarterback with the Texans.
You had
Without
stability
a
with
run
Bill
game,
O'Brien.
without a good defense. Like in spite of Bill O'Brien,
I think he's a good coach.
Bill O'Brien was not a good coach. He was an all right coordinator. He was not a good coach.
I don't know. Penn State had a winning record at Penn State after the scandal.
It's a college. That's college.
Yeah, but he was only able to get high school players.
Saban couldn't coach in the NFL.
Yeah, but
Nick
he was only
Saban,
able to.
the greatest college coach ever in college football, couldn't coach in the NFL.
Yeah, but after that scandal at Penn State, Bill O'Brien was only able to get the water boy from high schools. He wasn't able to come and sit in somebody's living room and go, yeah, I know what just happened here, but we want your 4-star athlete to come to Penn State. Are you crazy? He had to coach up 1-stars. He had to coach up the kid that used to mop the locker room. That's how bad that situation was.
He got those fringe players that couldn't get into the other schools. He was getting those players. He was getting athletes there. They weren't the smartest.
They just didn't have a star next to their name.
They just weren't very smart. Listen, he did a good job at Penn State. I'm not taking that away from him.
So my
point
here,
he was not a good NFL coach.
My point here is, well, he went to the playoffs twice with Houston. My point here is,
in spite of him,
Deshaun Watson needs stability. He had it in Clemson, stability. He had it in Houston, stability. Bill O'Brien's that type of guy where he sits there and he goes, listen. And people are like, okay, he had stability. You go to Cleveland and you get Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski's reputation the year prior was that him and Baker Mayfield had a spat. So instead he started calling bad offenses and got his quarterback hit. That's not such a rumor anymore. People believe it. There's circles that believe that Stefanski actually did that. And Haslam is, that's just how they are. They like Stefanski like a son, apparently, up there. But
I don't think Baker really, him and Stefanski was never on the same page for him to run that offense. Baker just couldn't run the offense. Just couldn't.
Yeah, it didn't allow him. It didn't allow him much. Whereas
listen, we talk about it all the time. Some quarterbacks just aren't built for a certain system.
Tampa allows him 3 or 4 outs where, Stefanski likes to have the final say. And it's like, it doesn't work for it. Sometimes that works great for people, right? You have the final say. And if I just execute your play. But, if I'm a student, I watch and I do all this stuff. I know the guy, hey, this guy's out of breath over here. I know you called the play for him, but I know he's kind of gassed. So I'm going to bring him over. I'm going to have him block whatever. And then I'll run some type of other thing. I can see the guy is tired. That stuff matters. That's sports. That's how you're trying to take advantage, right? You can take advantage of other teams knowing that a guy just, why would you run the ball on 3rd and 7? Well, I'm going to tell you, this guy right here starting to get a little tired. And even if we don't get the first down, we have tired him further. It's a full game.
I get what you're saying, but you can't think you're smarter than the coach.
Well,
you can't think you're smarter than the coach. It's like Shanahan doesn't even allow Brock Purdy to call an audible. Just doesn't give him. He gives him 3 plays to pick from, and that's it. You call one of these 3 plays and don't veer from that.
Well, Stefanski hasn't had any Shanahan success.
No, I get it, but I'm just saying, like, Shanahan's cut from that same tree. Is I have final say. You're going to run my play, and that's it. There's certain quarterbacks that can do that, and certain quarterbacks that can't.
Yeah, I mean, and I just saw
you have somebody like Peyton Manning. He could do both.
I just saw the statistics, and we'll move on. We'll talk about some other quarterbacks, but I just saw the statistic the other day that Baker Mayfield now at this point in his career, and where Andrew Luck was in his career at this point, Baker's got more touchdowns. We
Well, I
like
mean,
Andrew Luck.
Luck did not have he really didn't have any good teams. He really didn't.
Yeah, I think it's kind of both.
You know, like Andrew Luck was a stud. He was a great quarterback. He had a few good players there, but they never had a really good team. And you take away, he didn't play that long either. Andrew Luck didn't, if you really think about it.
No, he played so the amount of seasons that they both so Andrew Luck had this many seasons, which is
Mhm.
where Baker's at now.
Mhm.
And I think it's 7 seasons or something like that he played.
Mhm.
Right, so they put it back next to each other, and I think, Baker had, like, 1 or 2 more touchdowns or something like that. It's like, sometimes it takes a franchise that knows what they're doing. Indy did not either, but they had a couple offensive players around them, but I think Reggie Wayne
Nothing.
still.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it
No,
wasn't.
listen, I'm not taking anything away from Reggie Wayne, nothing like that. No, he had a couple good players, but only a couple. He didn't have teams, but Baker didn't either. Up
Yeah,
until
you
he
had
went to
Jarvis
Cleveland.
Landry.
Yeah, up until he went to Cleveland, and he really didn't have anybody either. Now he does. Like when you have Godwin, which looks like he won't be there after this year. You have um, Evans.
Evans.
You have you a stud at tight end right now with Otto,
Yeah, Cade Otton, yeah. Yeah, Cade
Otten. That's
Otton. I
it.
mean,
I mean, he came out of nowhere this year. So I mean, it kind of, if you think about it, kind of was a blessing that these wide receivers went down for Tampa, because Godwin's chances are isn't going to be there next year. So he already got accustomed to McMillan a little bit. He gave Auden a household name.
so there was
You're
always
getting
this
Evans back.
there was always this idea up in Cleveland that when Odell had injuries and or would want to run his own routes, it's just insane. But when he would want to be creative and artistic or whatever, right? When he got injured, so what would happen is Baker would find other wide receivers and he would be a kind of a wide receiver maker, and he really liked Njoku a lot, by the way. But when Godwin went down, I went, okay, well, that was a rumor out of Cleveland. We do know how their media acts. We'll see if he can really do it. And you can see it. You saw it with Otton one week. Then it's Miller. I don't know. It wasn't Scotty Miller either. It was this taller Miller guy. And he was slowly trying to pair Miller with Jalen McMillan and trying to get them worked in. And then as he got better, went, okay, start giving McMillan some of Godwin's old routes. See if he can hit them. See if they can get on those two. And slowly you went, Jalen McMillan, geez, what's 6 touchdowns, 840 yards? That's a good rookie year. And so, yeah, you got to be able, I guess the moral of the story is you got to be able to make your wide receivers because injuries happen. It's the NFL. This isn't patty cake. If you can't make another guy on those routes, then you're just not good enough,
You
right?
just got to work with what you have. That's what you need to do. You
Yeah.
need to work with what you got, and you can't make the excuses, because when you start making the excuses, when you lose your job.
Speaking of new players in new situations, what do you think? What do you make of the Geno Smith move? What do you
Um,
like it?
I like it because, I mean, what was their other options? Getting Darnold, drafting somebody, you know? I like it because it's already shown that Geno could run Pete Carroll's system, what Pete Carroll wants to run. Chip Kelly signed off on it. Pete went to Chip and said, "Listen, can we work with this guy?" Chip's like, "Yeah." You know, um, he can take care of the ball. He's a little bit he's seasoned, so he's a little bit up there in age. Big thing with him is he going to be there for 1 year, or is he going to sign an extension with them? Because the reason why he didn't stay with Seattle is because they were so far apart on money that Seattle's just like, you know what? We're going to ship you off. We're not even going to keep you for 1 year. We might as well get what we can, because good old Pete will give us a nice 3rd-round pick for you, and we'll take that.
So here's what I think is Pete Carroll's a nice guy, but he's also a master salesman.
Mhm.
Right. So I think Geno Smith's gonna come in and be the starter, clearly, right? But
Yeah.
I don't believe that he's going to get another contract. And I don't think he's gonna want to go get another contract. I think he's gonna stay in Vegas as a quarterback's coach after this year? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like the Seahawks didn't want you to run their team. Where are you gonna go to get a job then after this? You're going
Somebody
nowhere.
will. Somebody will. He's a quarterback. The
I
Giants would pay him. The Jets would pay him. There's a lot of teams out there that will pay for an average quarterback a little bit more than average money.
but I think
So
the
yeah,
Giants.
no. As long as Gino wants to play, I mean, barring an injury, he's gonna have a team to go to. He's
The
gonna have
Giants
a
are going to
job.
draft Jackson Dart, and they're gonna take on that project, or they're drafting Cam Ward, and they're going to take on that project. So you're not going there, right? Are you going to go to Cleveland? Ooh, we already talked about how much we like Cleveland. So I just wouldn't it be better? You get to extend, and by the way, Tom Brady will talk to him about this. You get to extend your NFL career into coaching now. So how old is Geno Smith? 35, 36?
No, not even.
No?
No, early 30s, very early 30s.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
he does sign. I just believe that I just believe that the Raiders are going to draft Shador Sanders. I think it's written in the tea leaves. I think that
Yeah, he's
Geno
34. 34.
So you
Yeah.
take him to 35, right? And then you pay him, okay, we'll pay him to be a quarterback next year, right? So we'll give him an extension, but it's not going to be a good extension. It'll be like $12 million. And take it or leave it. Where are you going to go? You're not going to go anywhere, right? Because before I brought you in, your NFL career was over, right? Like the Jets didn't want you. Nobody made a phone call. I made a phone call, brought you in to the Seattle team. And now guess what? Seattle didn't want you again because I left. I called again and I brought you in here. I said that I would pay off the rest of your contract that I gave you. By the way, Pete Carroll gave him that contract and he's paying the rest of it off. I don't believe he's going to leave Pete because if he leaves Pete, nobody wants him.
I don't believe that, though. I don't believe that nobody wants him. If he hit free agency, there is multiple teams out there that would want him. He's not a scrub. He's not a scrub. Like they made it to the playoffs not last year, the year before. They were a game out of the playoffs last year. They were very competitive last year. No, I believe me, I don't want to stick up for him because I hate Seattle. I really do. But he's a solid quarterback. There is teams out there that would pay for his services.
I feel like he's got Sam Darnold syndrome because we say that people like him, but no one's raised their hand. And everybody's like, I can't believe the Raiders brought Geno Smith. Well, they wouldn't have if Pete Carroll wasn't there. So then there'd be no teams. He'd be stuck in Seattle for one more year. And then what? You're walking around with a briefcase trying to knock on people's doors. And
hypothetically, though, we don't know if another team would want to trade for him. We don't know that.
Nobody wants Sam Darnold.
We don't know that. Nobody can sign him right now. They can't sign him right now until tomorrow. We don't know that no team wants him. No, I have not seen one report that no teams want Sam Darnold.
Well, I
have not heard anything like that.
Adam Schefter reported the other day that he would be absolutely shocked if Minnesota made a bid for him.
No, Minnesota doesn't want him back. No,
Seattle.
They have JJ. Why would they want to pay Darnold?
Said Seattle is taking Darnold, and Seattle is taking Darnold because they have to.
Well, they need a quarterback, along with many, many other teams out there that does need a quarterback.
But he's not an upgrade from Geno Smith. He's not.
Is he?
No, because you're going to lose Metcalf. You're going to lose Metcalf. You're going to lose Metcalf. So if you lose Metcalf, Sam Darnold looked really good throwing to Justin Jefferson. Is that their pitch to DK Metcalf to keep him? Hey, this guy will throw you the ball. I mean, he threw it to Justin Jefferson all year. I think he's a pitch, but I still think DK Metcalf wants out. I don't think he likes the new coach. Once you get a guy like Pete, it's hard to go somewhere else. It's hard to have another guy. Pete Carroll he's one in a million. And I think that once you get a guy like that, you just want to be around a guy like that. And I think DK Metcalf wants out. And I don't know, Mike Tomlin could get the same out of him. If DK Metcalf went to Pittsburgh, I think that could work. Pittsburgh doesn't have a quarterback, though.
Not right now, no.
Not right now. But Aaron Rodgers is getting closer.
Mm-hmm.
He's
We'll
getting.
see. We'll see. Rumors still saying that they're still going to sign either Wilson or Fields.
Oh,
That's what they're working on.
I saw the other day about Fields. He could be a Jet.
Okay.
The Jets think that he has. I don't believe this, but it is the Jets. So he has supreme athleticism. That's true. Excellent knowledge of the game, and he could remake a pocket easily. And they think that Justin Fields can really see the field well. I think he has excellent athletic ability. I also believe that the Jets owner's son made that statement.
Yeah. Yeah. He
And
cannot see the field well. We all
his
know
Madden
that. It's a
rating,
knock on him.
He's been playing Madden again. He's like, "Hey, Dad, have you thought about Justin Fields?" He's like, "Well, what do you like about him, lad? I'll type it right out there." But it's a strong rumor. Strong rumor he's going there. Aaron Rodgers starting to pick up a little bit of steam in Pittsburgh. I think that would work. And just real quick, Brett Favre's act in New York was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's not Brady. He is a bit old, but he's Rodgers old. He's not Brady old.
Yeah. He can still run an offense.
He can still run off. The zip on the ball is there. Bear down from
Adams,
Memphis.
what's going on?
Kitty, what's up? Bear down.
Thanks for
I like it.
showing
All
up.
right.
Greatly appreciate it.
I like it. So I think that Aaron Rodgers can run offense. And so here's what happened. Robert Saleh, lost to the New York media as many coaches do, right? He just kind of crumbled and, dumped in on Rodgers, and Rodgers didn't like that. No one does. Okay. Kind of severed their relationship, whatever. They brought Davante Adams over. It was a little late in the season. Then they got another coach in there after Saleh was tossed out on the street. The coach ended up looking like Aaron Rodgers' dad and acted even worse, right? He didn't understand timeouts. He didn't understand, hey, if you put 3 points on the board and the other team doesn't have zero, or the other team has zero, you don't have to go for it on fourth down. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Waiting on tomorrow, free agent frenzy. I can't wait.
We are. Well, you showed up to the right spot because that is what we are talking about. So, you have any questions or any little tidbits of information that we have not talked about? Drop it in the comments.
Yeah, if you're sitting in a locker room right now illegally, let us know because we want to. Hey, listen, if maybe you got the player's phone and you figured out his password. You're like,
inside information is always welcomed.
Tennessee. Oh, Tennessee, right? But I think Aaron Rodgers, if he goes there, he gets Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin, the one thing you get with that dude is he owns the media. No bullshit. We're doing this. And Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith can run the offense over here. Aaron likes to run the ball. It's not a problem. He can play behind a good defense. And you handle your department. I handle my department. You can go on your vacation. I will look. The vacation time is not a problem here, but just know that when you get here, you're going to work really, and that's not the problem. It really isn't. It's, Mike Tomlin will put parameters in and he'll deal with this. He dealt with Brown. He dealt with Bell. He dealt with Roethlisberger. Having one of those players in the building, Aaron Rodgers, not going to be a problem. It really isn't. And people are making a big thing out of it. I think Aaron Rodgers could walk in there, get George Pickens straightened out, and get all these guys the ball. And it may be, by the way, if it's a package deal, Davante Adams wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, if they could afford him. And they are looking for another wide receiver. So, that would make sense. I could see Rodgers working out there, and I don't see an issue with that at all. I just don't think that they're going to go that route. I think, again, they're going to go with Fields or Wilson. What I wanted to really quick touch on the Wilson situation. On what does that say about Wilson that his old coach would rather trade for a quarterback than to pick up what we are assuming is going to be a fairly cheap Russell Wilson?
So there was a falling out. So now you know, right? And it tells you everything. There was a falling out between Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. There had to have been.
Yeah, we all know that there was, but they keep saying that there wasn't. But we know that there was.
Well, now we know. Now we know, right? And he went and got Geno. And, there's always been a conversation, too, that Russell Wilson is a nice guy. And he kind of gets along. He's let's ride and all that other, it was a little weird. But his wife kind of and his agent handle his negotiating.
But I heard that he's so nice that he comes across fake.
Yeah.
And players don't like that. Players like somebody that they could relate to. Whether they like you, if they could relate to you, they'll respect you more. If you come across nice and fake, you're going to have some issues. And I think throughout his career, we've seen that.
Well, there was always this conversation too that when Russ was in Seattle, right, he put on some pounds or whatever, and Gino did start beating him out in camp, and that's when they moved on. And Russell was like, "Oh, he had this it's my team mentality," and all. Like, look at this other guy's beating you out. He's clearly beating you out, and there was real discussions with Pete in the front office, and Pete was the guy. Ultimately, the end of this, and he said, "Do it," and they traded him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of the story, and they were really fine doing that. And if Gino was beating him out then, he'd probably beat him out now.
No.
Mm-hmm. I know Gino's interceptions last year weren't very good, but his completion percentage was good.
Yeah, no, he still got the ball to where it needed to be.
And I read somewhere where he, in the past 3 seasons, now listen, in NFL games, you don't want to be behind. Okay? That's kind of a rule, right? If Greg's watching the 49ers, he likes them to be up by 30. If I'm watching my team, I want them right. But in come from behind victories, there's 2 quarterbacks that have the most come from behind victories. Number 1's Patrick Mahomes, surprise, surprise. And number 2 is Geno Smith. So Geno gives you a real shot. And I do believe that Geno Smith as an athlete, right, is very close to what Shedeur Sanders is. I think they throw a comparable ball, and I do believe that Geno Smith came into the league a little bit like Shedeur is, a little chip, a little brash, and he'll learn from Geno Smith. I still think Shedeur's going to the Raiders. I think the plan that Pete and Tom Brady, because he's a very big part of this, from what we're being told, Pete and Tom Brady and the general manager all got together. By the way, the general manager went to Michigan. If you don't think Tom Brady's got his thumb on this, he does. All these guys got together and they were like, look it, do we want Aaron Rodgers? And they all sat down. They went, look it, Aaron's a 1-year deal guy and he doesn't move us forward. We need a guy that, and they all, and Pete went, what about Geno? Geno would have no problem doing this. Maybe we restructure a contract, give him a 3-year something quarterback. He could get Geno to do it.
What'd you say?
I'm on board with this. I really think it's a smart move. It really it's different than what Kansas City did. It's different than what Jim Harbaugh did in for the Chargers. It's different than what Sean Payton did. But it's still in that division. It makes sense to do this.
Geno, since he took over in 2021. In 2021, he had 68.4 completion percentage. He had what did I just see? Touchdowns here. Let's see here. He had 30 touchdowns. I'm sorry. No, 2021, he only played 7 games. His first full year as a starter was 2022. Completion percentage was 69.8. He threw for 4,282 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. 23 dropped 64.7% completion percentage, 33,624 yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and last year was a bounce back year. 70.4% completion, 4,320 yards, 21 touchdowns, 15 completions. So, I mean, all 3 years that he's put up great numbers, great QB numbers. So, I still think he has a couple of really good years left in him. And looking at those numbers compared to what Russell did last year, yeah, I'm jumping on Geno a lot quicker.
Yeah, and again, Pete's going to do what he thinks is best for his franchise. And, he's got, a 4-year deal out there? Something like that. So Pete's trying to, I think what Pete's trying to do is he's trying to move from coach to GM or coach to front office. He was trying to do it in Seattle, and they kind of went, no, you could be our kind of like our Seattle mascot. And he went, no. No, I want to go back and do this again. And maybe I left the wrong way. I was a little
Mhm.
wishy washy and leaving. I still wanted to coach, and I say it all the time. That division got tougher. Kansas City just had another player arrested the other day. They did. Xavier Worthy arrested.
Hollywood Brown re-signed with them, which is nice. Maybe after having a full off season with them, he'll be able to actually have a decent year. I know I was high on him last year, and he didn't really do much. So maybe he can turn that around with a full season with them, full season with them, as far as not being injured. So that's one wide receiver that's taken off the market.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We have Devontae Adams is out there,
Yeah.
right?
As far as let's see, only other quarterback that is really out there is Jameis Winston, as far as free agents go. So that's why we're
Stephon
really not
Diggs is
talking
out
too
there.
much. Oh,
Stephon
let's
Diggs
talk
is
about
out there.
quarterbacks.
Oh,
Uh,
no, but I'm saying Diggs in Kansas City are starting to cozy a little bit.
let's see here. We want to talk about wide receivers. We are talking about T. Higgins was franchise tagged.
I
Chris
hate that.
Godwin
I hate
is
that.
out there.
I
We
like
got
the Chris
Amari
Godwin.
Cooper. We got Stephon Diggs, Denard Hopkins, which we both are down on him. Marquise Brown already signed. We got Darius Slayton, Keenan Allen, Dante Johnson, Mike Williams. Yeah, nobody really. I mean,
And this
Elijah
is what I want.
Moore.
I brought this up for a strategic. So, these are big names. These are awesome names. You do not want to draft any of these fantasy players. Maybe Stephon Diggs if he goes somewhere advantageous, and maybe Chris Godwin if he gets a core. If Chris Godwin goes to Indy, forget it. Don't, not at
Mhm.
all. If Stephon Diggs doesn't go to Kansas City, and maybe if he went to San Francisco, I would love that move, right? Because
I'm not high on him. I'm not
no,
high on Stephon Diggs anymore. I'm really not. I think he's way past his prime. He's a lot slower. He's very injury prone anymore.
he adds teeth to your offense, though, and if he's a second option in San Francisco, it gives Brock a guy that can get open. Um, that's kind of how I look at that. Oh, you got your volume? You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just getting static through my headphones. I don't
All
think
right.
it's you. It's my headphones. Keep talking.
All right. I do think he provides, a value in the right situation. Is he a number one? Probably not a number one. Probably not a number one. But if I don't know, he signed somewhere like okay, towards the end of careers, I look at things this way. I always like to look at where the player went to college because that player might want to go back to that area, right? So the way I look at it is where Stephon Diggs went to college at Maryland.
Hmm.
Oh, that's the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens could take Stephon Diggs on, and it gives him an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, right? Then they have Diggs, then they have Flowers. By the way, and I know that people don't pay attention to him, but his first full year being healthy, Rashad Bateman was a damn
Yeah.
problem.
Hmm.
I mean, no, for real. Rashad Bateman, I
Yeah.
haven't done the numbers yet, but he literally, I think, finished in the top 15 wide receivers. And he's
Hmm.
got talent. And they drafted him out of Minnesota because Rashad Bateman could catch a ball 10 yards behind him.
Yeah.
Got banged up his first couple years. I understand the injury concerns, but he can have a 3-year run now where you're like, man, I should have got him. Man, I should have. He can have that. And then you have Diggs there, right? So if you have another weapon for Lamar Jackson, and it gives Diggs an opportunity to get in the playoffs. I think he can go, but you don't want to take him so early.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
no,
kind of
I like that situation where he's not. He goes to a team where he's not. Doesn't need to be that number one or that solid number two. You can just get on the ball whenever. I'm just wondering if if he himself is able to mentally handle that. Because the last time we looked at him, that he wasn't getting the ball all the time, he was a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did
When
all
he was
right.
healthy. I mean, we seen what happened with the Bills. Like we seen him soaking over at the sidelines. When he was not being forced the ball, mentally he wasn't the same person. We don't know if he's like that when we don't know if he was like that with the Texans for the fact that he wasn't there or he
Well,
wasn't on the field long enough. He got injured.
some of the other stuff he said, he goes, they were like, you looked visibly frustrated. Nothing like a solid number 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
You looked visibly frustrated. He goes, well, of course I was visibly frustrated. And they were like, why? He goes, well, first of all, we were losing. I don't like to lose. And he goes, second of all, he goes, I thought I was open on a couple plays. And he goes, you know what? You do, as a wide receiver, get open on a couple plays where you don't get the ball. I gave 100% on that play, and I was open, but the ball went somewhere else. Well, how am I not supposed to be frustrated about that? He goes, and it has nothing to do with Josh. I love Josh.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right. Imagine you 40-yard sprint, right? And, you did your best. You ran your best time ever. And you took the bronze medal. What are you supposed to do, a cartwheel and dance? You're the 3rd fastest. And you're fastest. I just think that's how he gets frustrated.
That you can't compare that because the NFL, because football is such more of a team sport. There's a lot more going on than just him running down the field. Was Josh Allen pressured? Was there a lineman in front of him that his passing lane wasn't there? There's multiple reasons why he wasn't going to get the ball. What was the check down there? That's why he got rid of it so quick. Was there supposed to be a blitzer that was coming and there wasn't? So therefore his eyes was somewhere else. Like there's so many different aspects when it comes to football, why a wide receiver isn't getting the ball that's wide open, that you really have to break down. You have to take it play by play, or even if you want a game by game.
I would take a Diggs. I would take an Antonio Brown. I would take a Keyshawn Johnson over almost every wide receiver I've ever seen. Because, maybe they're. What wide receiver do you think the Broncos should go after?
That's a good one. That's a good one because we talked about how all right, a better question than who do we think the Broncos should go after? What wide receiver is out there that is a Sean Payton type wide receiver?
That's that's where you want to be there. Yeah, because Sean Payton wants. Sir, I said a year ago what I really wanted them to do. What I really wanted them to do was I wanted them to give up like a 4th round pick, because I think that this could have got it done, and go after Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is Sean Payton's guy. That was he called him his Joker, right? And I don't know if Kamara and them could get together now because of the age and all this other stuff, but I thought that Denver could have really done that, and Alvin Kamara would have exhausted you in the altitude. Absolutely, just you had no chance. What kind of wide receiver do I think that they should go after? Not Diggs.
No,
Diggs
no.
is not on that list.
What they need, and what they were missing this year, me personally, I think they need a wide receiver that can go over the middle. They need a big statured wide receiver that could go up and over the middle. Because if you look at Peyton's wide receivers when he was over with the Saints with Drew Brees, he had your Michael Thomases, those guys that would go over the middle that could catch those balls. He doesn't have that right now. He has 2 outside receivers right now. He needs a guy that could go up the middle. One guy that stands out, he's not a free agent, but if they can make a move to bring him in, Metcalf.
Ooh, hold on. Because you said that, I actually have an answer for you. Garrett in New York. Solid. Here's my answer, and I just stumbled upon it. The Denver Broncos, drum roll please, should sign Chris Godwin. That would work. He is a Sean Payton guy. Sign Chris Godwin. It gives him and Bo Nix. By the way, Godwin's the one now. And Godwin can be a one. And it gives Sean Payton a guy for which he knows the routes are going to be run the right way. He's a damn good blocking wide receiver. And that would be a perfect transition out of Tampa into Denver. I think Chris Godwin to the Broncos would make news. And it would make Bo Nix better.
Absolutely.
That's the answer, right? Is that the answer, I think?
Yeah, I don't see any other wide receivers here that we went over them quickly. I mean, Another guy that I could see that could possibly do all right there. But he's further down on here. Where was he?
I love
But
Godwin
again,
to
he's
Denver.
injury prone. A lot of these guys, once you start getting down here more, there he is. He really hasn't done much recently in his career. But Elijah Moore, he's more of a slot guy,
Yeah.
a speedster guy. He's not very big in stature, but he's so twitchy fast that
Yeah.
that wouldn't matter. But is he a Sean Payton type body build? No, he's not. But he
Oh, you know
is a
who maybe
guy
though?
that could go up the middle.
But Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's a free agent, and if you were just trying to bring in a veteran who can do a little bit, you
Yeah,
bring
a
in
little bit. Yeah, I
you
mean, you
bring in
could,
you
but
bring in
he's
Lockett,
more of a. He's been always an outside guy too.
pay Godwin, bring in Lockett for nothing, and
Oh,
then and then you,
if I'm a Broncos fan, I am doing laps around my house naked if that happens.
oh my
I'm
God,
telling
put
you
your
right now,
clothes on,
if you could somehow pull off those two wide receivers, watch out.
put your
Pair them
clothes on.
up with Sutton. Who was their tight end?
So yeah,
I can't
Dort.
remember, but he was he had a solid year last year. He was all right. But yeah, oh wow, if you could pull off that's a hell of a haul.
Yeah, because then you'd have Sutton, who had a quietly good year last year. Then you have
Yeah.
Lockett. Then you have I forget that other kid out of Oregon that worked well with Bo Nix towards the end of
Mhm.
the year. That was his guy. That's how they paired
Yes.
those two together, and he pulled him in like the third or fourth round, which was a great move. But if you can do Godwin and Sutton, and then have a Lockett in on something, Lockett's only going to play a little bit, and then but if you bring him in on a vet minimum, it's okay. You
Mhm.
know. And we gotta start taking this Broncos team's gonna be serious.
No, you have
I
after this year, you have to take them serious. With the lack of talent that he had, Sean Payton, and the job he did with that team and with a rookie quarterback, watch out.
Everybody talks about Bill Parcells and they talk about Bill Belichick. Nobody remembers that Sean Payton was draft Loveland, trade for Garrett Wilson, great group for Knicks. Oh, you want to trade for Garrett Wilson? I love that. By the way, that's a
Mhm.
good that's well thought out. Garrett Wilson is not leaving the Jets.
Yeah.
Because the conversation was had whether Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall would stay on the Jets if Aaron Rodgers was there, and they said, absolutely not, we're out.
Yep.
And they went, oh, no, he's out then.
Mhm.
They said, get him out of here. You guys don't want to deal with him. You don't very much like him. You stay. We want the youth here, and we want to put this back to the way it was with Zach Wilson, who, by the way, had a better year with the Jets than Aaron Rodgers.
How bad or how ridiculously bad do you think the Jets think they've messed up when it came to Robert Saul? They picked Rodgers and Hackett, the offensive coordinator, over Robert Saul, who was turning out to be a good coach. Defense played way better. Players liked him. You know, after this year with the Niners, he's going to get another coaching job next year.
So it's tough, right? Because you really only get one chance to take a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert Saleh liked Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really his biggest opportunity last year to get Zach Wilson to work, right? And he kind of did and mostly didn't, and we all know the story, right? And then Aaron Rodgers is now healthy, and they looked at it and they went, look, at the kid you liked didn't work. And now you're butting heads with the guy that has worked everywhere. And I know he's not what he once was, but you're butting heads with him. Can't you like? How are you not getting along with people now? You're not getting along, and the guy that you wanted to develop, it has not developed.
He
we love
wanted
you.
to fire Hackett, is what
I
he
know.
wanted to do. He wanted
He's
to fire the offensive coordinator, and they said, no, you're fired.
Yeah, he's like, we love you, but it's time to, you're not working out here. You kind of know, and it's we all love you, but we know.
But the thing was, he was working out.
No.
He was. Before Aaron got there, he was working out.
No, he was failing because he was the guy who put his
That
name to Zach
defense
Wilson.
was one of the top defenses in the league every year he was there.
No, I totally agree, which means he's a defensive coordinator. A head
Well,
coach
that's what
can
he was. He was a defensive coordinator. When you take over as a head coach, you want that defense to stay the same. You want it to be a good defense. You don't expect that offense to jump dramatically because you hired Robert Saul. No, you bring in an offensive coordinator for that.
but he put his name to Zach Wilson. Like he said, he goes, hey, listen, the combine looks pretty
I'm
good.
with you. No, there's a lot of other coaches out there that died with the quarterback that they took.
And that's what happened. You died with that quarterback. Then the guy that we brought in here to maybe you didn't get along with him, and maybe people don't, but you had to get along. You had to figure out how to manage a personality. You didn't do that either. So you missed on talent, and then you missed on a relationship. And they went, "It's time, right? We both don't like each other anymore." That's what I think really happened. You just need another place. It was not as long tenured, but it was a little bit like Andy Reid leaving Philly.
Long tenured. He was only there for 3 years.
That's why
Not
well,
even
that's why
3 years. Two
that's
and a
why
half.
but I'm comparing it to Andy Reid.
You
So
know?
Andy Reid was in Philly forever, but at the end of the marriage, they both looked at each other and they went, he's like, "Hey," and they went, "We know." But
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but that's difference between coaching somewhere for 10 years and coaching somewhere in 2.5 years. It's like, really? It's like, they decided to back Aaron Rodgers instead of their coach.
yeah, and
Which at the end of the year they found out, well, maybe we backed the wrong person because Aaron wasn't who we thought he was either.
yeah, and they'll bring Salah. Salah end up somewhere else. I don't know where, but
I don't
eventually
know
they'll end
yet
up.
either. We'll see next year when there's coaching opportunities. I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't do a hell of a job with the Niners again. You know, so
I would
I'm not worried
love
about that.
I would love to see him in college because the college game and the college landscape has changed for professional coaching. And I think that he can really beef up a program
Mhm.
would love Robert Sala. Like if he went to you know, Florida State or somebody that is just dying for a guy to go, "Hey, let's go in there and stomp those guys." It's more his
The
brand.
energy that he brings is unquestionable. Bar none, nobody could touch it. Like the energy he brings to the sideline. I mean, he's up there. He's out there. 3 4 hours before the game, running the steps. Up and down the stadium. So like the guy has great energy. He's very positive. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator. I believe he's a good motivator. The players love him. He has every makings of a good coach.
Just to take an old football brand that hasn't done well in some years and see him like, "Hey, who hasn't been good in football for years in the Big Ten that's probably looking for a coach? How about Wisconsin?
Hmm.
Wisconsin hasn't really made any noise in the Big Ten for years. It's been, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, in whichever order you would like, right? But that's the big three. Wisconsin used to be with Barry Alvarez. They used to
Hmm.
walk in and be a damn problem. And
Well,
if you had
I mean, the same thing with teams like Nebraska. They were always powerhouses too. But it's one of those things. It's like, people ask, well, why? What happened to these programs? Nobody wants to go to a college that's surrounded by cornfields. They just don't. Like that. Like people ask, like, why did you pick Florida State over Nebraska? Nebraska. They look at them. They're like, it's Nebraska. It's
Greg,
cornfields.
most of our food is made with corn. Made with corn. I, for one,
I
love
listen,
popcorn.
I love the farmers. I give them all the respect. They are some of the hardest working people that we have in these United States. But when you are a kid, a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, you don't want to be surrounded by cornfields.
Hey, there's nobody that loves high fructose corn syrup more than a kid.
I'm
So,
just saying.
how'd I
Back
do there?
back then, when we were younger, um, you know, y- programs like that was able to survive because everybody the publicity wasn't there. The news wasn't there. The access wasn't there. Now you have access to everything right at your fingertips. So programs like that can't survive, and they're showing they can't survive, no matter what type of coach they bring in. what you might get it. You might get a scrub bowl. You get a 7-8 win season. You get into a bowl game, but you'll never see Wisconsin, a Nebraska, or any teams like that. A Kansas State, um, go for a national championship. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
Will they get into the playoffs every once in a while because of a 12-team playoffs? Possibly, but they're never going to compete for a national championship. It's just the cruel fact of it. Your SEC schools, your beach schools, your schools like that, are the ones that's going to be competing for national championships.
Yeah, I mean, you need to get the player excited or get
Yes.
ignited, right? Get
Yes.
excited or get ignited, and by ignited, I mean lit on fire. Like you're gonna burn to the ground. Like you're not going to be able to compete in the landscape for which we have now. That's it. I mean, North Carolina learned about last year. They went, we're no longer a basketball school.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to explain that to you guys, but they didn't give Bill Belichick carte blanche by accident.
Yeah. Him and David Lombardi, do whatever you guys want.
Yeah, they did it because they knew that they weren't getting the player that they wanted. And, Duke's going to find it out very soon, too, that they're going to have to rebrand everything soon. I know you have that Cooper Flag kid now, but, you are not getting the Grant Hills, the Christian Leitners, the Zion Williamses. You're not getting 2 and 3 player packages anymore.
And even when you are getting that 1 or 2 players, you're only really getting them for a year and done.
Yeah, it's you're going to have to find a coach that can coach up talent. And in that case, we're going to have to spend money on that coach. And right now, the only way we're going to make money to do that is backdoor our way into this 12 team in college football. That's it, right? So we're going to get players in football to push that money over here and let Belichick and Lombardi do whatever they want over there. That's North Carolina knows. Duke's going to get there late.
No, yeah, I agree. And North Carolina is doing it a bit different than everybody. I mentioned they brought in David Lombardi too, and they're bringing him in to basically be the GM. There's the GM in college football forever, for the whole college football landscape, has been the athletic director. No more. They're actually, this is the first time this is happening. So this is going to be very interesting to see what happens with this. This is the first program to adapt an actual kind of a NFL front office structure where you have, you have an athletic director, the owner. You have the GM, which is the GM. Then you have the coach, which is the coach. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this shapes out.
Well, because what Dabo Sweeney said is actually correct. He's like, I'm not going to go recruit these kids. They come here and they want. He goes, I'll get some kids. He goes, but I'm not getting in the transfer portal. And I think Bill Belichick had the conversation too. I'm not getting in the transfer portal. And they went, well, you're gonna have to. And he goes, okay. I know some guys, and I'll defer some of my money to that guy to pay him. He goes, I want a lot of money, and then I'm going to start paying out of that to go do jobs I don't want to do. So he did. That's smart. It's a great move.
Yeah.
What else? You want to talk basketball?
Yeah, but let's how long we've been on for a little over an hour. Yeah, we can't really go through all the positions like I wanted to. One of these days we will stick to our script, to what we want to do. Jack and I tend to go off and ramble about a certain subject for way too long.
This is what they show up for. They show up for our rambling.
But yeah, we might as well. Yeah, let's touch on some real quick before we jump to the NBA. We got college basketball. Yesterday, big game happened. There was a couple big games that happened. North Carolina, Duke. North Carolina hung around for a little bit. Duke ended up winning. The other one was Alabama, Auburn. Big game. Went to overtime. Alabama ended up winning with a last-second shot.
Wow.
First time in NCAA history where it was the final game of the season against a number 1 ranked team that a team made a buzzer beater to beat the team in overtime. third time in NCAA history that a team that was ranked number 1 lost their last 2 games of the season, and that was Auburn. So, I hate Auburn for all you guys that don't know. So that's great for me. I love it. Even though, listen, it's basketball, so I don't hate them as much in basketball and football. Forget about it. I can't stand them. Basketball, I'm a little bit more lenient because I am a UConn fan in college basketball. I still like my Bama, but I am a UConn fan with college basketball. But anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting with the whole the number 1 and then Alabama coming out and beating them like that, and them losing back-to-back games.
So I had a great discussion with somebody the other day while I was working, and this guy goes, "Oh, he goes, you see, big win for UConn the other day. They just beat Marquette."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "That'll probably put them in the tournament." And I said, "Do you think so?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, that puts them at 20 wins. I know they've had a tougher season. They haven't been as dominant as they were the past couple of years. And I'm like, do you really think that they can get? Do you really think they're going to get in the tournament? My whole problem is I think that there is, one good team in the Big Ten. I know Michigan will probably find their way in there, but it's Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
They think Tom Izzo's team's good. There's really only one, maybe you could say two good teams in the ACC. You could say, obviously Duke and then Clemson, because Clemson,
Mm-hmm.
the same team rode all the way to Sweet 16 last year. They could get hot again. I think there's one good team in the Big East this year. I think it's St. John's, and that's it. In years past, it was St. John. St. John's got better last year. They weren't number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it was UConn. Then you had Marquette. Then you had Creighton. Like Creighton was good.
Yeah.
And I just
Yep.
these other, so to be the third best team or second best team in the Big East, I think UConn gets in based on their resume over the past couple of years. Oh, can we knock out the defending champs?
Mm-hmm.
They have a winning record. They'll probably put the defending champs in. But I would not be shocked if they didn't make the field of 32.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that why would they keep them around, or why would the NCAA is going to put them in? But how good is UConn? That's the truth. If they weren't in the past couple tournaments, they're like Ohio State in the Big Ten. They're not, I mean, they might win 20 games, but do we care?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at with them.
Winning 20 games is 20 games. You're still winning 20 games. But I'm with you. Yeah, they don't have near the squad that they did the last 2 years. So I think they're going to repeat. No. But all you need to do is make the tournament, Make the tournament, get a shot.
Yeah, I think there's a better shot of Danny Hurley having a heart attack on the sideline.
Well,
Them having to stop the game, and then he's like, "All right, we'll regroup tomorrow, guys. We did it." And you're like, what did you do? The talent's not there. They just don't have. They just need 3 more guys, and they don't have them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have 3 more guys, you're gonna be in trouble. That's what I said to him. I said, UConn has had a great run. It ends this year.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna be crowned? I don't know. I like Alabama a little bit because they did well last year. They're the only team that has. I think they have the best 3-point shot. They've got legit guys that can, and they got another way to win basketball games as well. Auburn's very good. Florida's got height.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm looking at is Florida because of the size that they have. Even the depth on is they have size. So that's who I'm looking at is Florida.
They got this 6. I can't, forgive me for his name. I haven't gotten fully into college basketball season yet. I know we've been playing for a while, but I haven't gotten his name. But he's like 6'7", and he gets rebounds and he gets extra points after rebounds. He really gets them far. I mean, he is ready to go. And the whole team feeds off him. And it's not so much the centers, the guards are fine, but this guy, when he gets a rebound and goes up, gets hit on his hand, and he scores like it. And that's a guy that travels in the tournament. I don't know whether he's NBA. It doesn't really matter to me. This guy is 6'7", wants to win, and grabs rebounds. Could be a problem.
Yeah. No. So I like Florida. Duke's is another one. Auburn's another one. So there's a few teams out there that I think that could win. Once I dive more into college basketball, I'm still in the NFL mode, guys. with all this stuff happening, draft, the free agency.
We're trying.
I really am. I'm getting more into NBA, which we're going to talk about very shortly.
Baseball's
So I
coming.
guess yeah, so I mean, the next trickle down would be college basketball. My big thing when I hit college basketball is like a couple of days, like a week before the tournament, which we're right there. So I'm gonna have to start doing my studying, seeing who I like. Started a very little bit. What's that?
Start sleeping in this chair. Oh wait, what's going on? There's a game on at noon.
Yeah. Was it that Thursday? Well, technically Wednesday they start, but Thursday's when the big ones start. Game every freaking on 3 different channels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very exciting. March Madness is a great time. Jack and I will be going through some of the games when it gets a little closer to that. But
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, I'm still stuck in NFL mode. I really am. There's just so much going on.
We've had news, so you have to address the news for which the sport that you're covering and still kind of covering, and then guys, super pumped. I just want to. I keep mentioning this. We've got a fantasy baseball this year. We're doing.
Yeah.
League is filled, by the way.
Nice.
And we may be bumping it up. We might be going from 8 team to 10 team. I'm going to cap it at that though.
Mm-hmm.
If we get 2 more, hey, the more the merrier, right? My buddy Stratton, he's got a couple of his boys that might want to get in. So I'm like, all right, man, like 2 of them though. I need 2 of them. I need commitments. Blah, blah, blah. So he's working on that. We'll see if it happens. If not, we've got 8 guys in our fantasy baseball league. Super excited. The thing about I don't know if you've looked. Have you looked at anything really?
No, I have not. No. Only thing I heard remotely is Ohtani. Not close to being able to pitch yet. They're not even saying that they're not even speculating that he's going to pitch this year. They just want to be healthy. They just want him to play. They're not worried about him pitching.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to, and I think Ohtani's going to have a really nice year. I just think that you're going to pay a premium in the first round for Ohtani, and then you're going to have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking at hoping to get another player. I really like being on the back end of like an 8 to 10 man league, right? And it's not all about home runs. I know home runs are great and RBIs are great. You want to have statistical points, but stolen bags is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's the new statistic that you really want to look at. If you need guys on your team that steal at least 25 bags.
Well, Ohtani was a 50-50 guy last year.
He was. No, I get it. But, he lumbered a little bit, and I don't think it's his forte. I think a lot of the bags that he stole weren't contested, too. That's another thing you have to look at, right? Contested bag stealing, all this other stuff, because if you're not really getting contested, A, it's good, because they don't want to mess with the hitter that they have. And B, is that a statistic for which you can project again and predict?
Mm-hmm.
Right, to where you go, the pitcher really didn't care because Teoscar Hernandez, who bats behind Ohtani, we really got to pay attention to him. So let Ohtani have a bag. We don't really care about it. These are other things that you need to, I'm in it. I'm committed to baseball. I love baseball. I really do.
This is something that's going to be new to me. I'm going to have to learn. It's a whole new draft strategy for me. It's something that I don't know too much about, but like I said, I decided to do it this year because Jack and I will be talking a lot of baseball this year. There is a good part of the year where that's the only thing going on is baseball. So you guys are going to be hearing a lot of it. So I want to know the players that I'm talking about. I want to have some players to root for. Everybody. Well, you guys don't know because we don't talk a lot about it, but the White Sox is my team. And we're not very good. We're never very good. We seem to get young. We seem to look like we're going to be very promising, but then when the season starts, we just end up sucking. So I'm more, we just do. I am very invested in baseball when the White Sox are good. It's like back when I was a casual basketball fan. I was invested when the Warriors were good. Now I'm just invested in basketball, period, because I enjoy it. But I'm invested when my team is good. So hopefully this year with me picking up fantasy baseball, that will get me over that hump. Get me over that hump to pay more attention to it, to watch some more games. Jack and I talked about how they're speeding up the game. That's better for a better product on TV. So they're making strides to make the product better for viewers, which is good for somebody like me that really wants to get into baseball again. But it's rough. It really is. It's rough just sitting through all those nine inning games. A lot of breaks in between. But now with that pitch count, it speeds stuff up. So I'm enjoying what games I did watch last year.
I'm gonna tell you. So the White Sox, yes, young, but they've got a ton of young talent coming down the pipe.
Thing though, we traded away a lot of good people for young talent, but it just never seems.
I mean,
I remember back when we traded away, I forget who it was, but we got this guy from Boston. It start with an M. He was the number 2 prospect in all of Major League Baseball. I was super excited. I couldn't wait. The next year, I was like, oh, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. This guy, he gets hurt. All right, next year, it's all right. Coming back from injury, he's going to be better. He's going to be better. Just never lived up to his name.
The team
prospect in Major League Baseball. I was super excited for. I believe it. We had one of the best pitchers to come out. I know he hasn't done much, but Sale. I was super excited when we had him. After I found out what he did, I was glad when we got rid of him. He didn't like the jerseys we were wearing, so he decided to cut them up before the game. Like, that's a bit childish. So yeah, peace out. But to get that type of talent, I was super excited for.
So the team here's the team I'm really excited for this year. And the Yankees and the Mets and the Phillies and the team that I'm really excited for is you remember they used to be the Big Red Machine, Cincinnati Reds.
Ooh.
And the reason why I'm really excited because they have a ton of young talent.
Mm-hmm.
They have a draw in that Ellie De La Cruz. He's about 6'5". He can. He's the fastest MLB player. First of all, he flies like the wind around bases. He can hit, and they just pulled an absolute legend out of retirement in Terry Francona to coach the team. They are serious. They shoved him a contract he couldn't refuse. He's got a bunch of young players, and I think that they're going. De La Cruz, he could steal 100 bags this year. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's never been done. He could steal 100 bags. He is so fast. He could take first, or he can, get on first base. He can take second and get on third. That he is absolute wind. He is so fun to watch, and players outside of New York need to be talked about as well. Mm-hmm. I know you got Judge and you got Soto and Francisco Lindor, and you got other players there, right? But there are players everywhere in this league.
Yeah, no, I know. I remember us talking last year briefly, and I don't know their names, but I will learn them. But Pittsburgh, the Pirates, they had tons of young talent. We were talking about them a little bit last year, I remember. A couple big pitchers over there. They had a hitter that had some type of streak going on. So, they have a lot of young talent, too, so I'm anxious to see how they're going to do.
Paul Skeens is that pitcher in Pittsburgh, and he's the dude. Oh, he is. He is what if the Mets never let Nolan Ryan go and they let him actually grow and get better and all this other stuff. Paul Skeens will go out there and absolutely give you. He's the next Verlander kind of player. He's going to play for a long time, and you're never going to stop him. And he's got power, and he just stares at it. Paul Skeens is an absolute delight to watch. And even if the pitchers behind him, here's other interesting. The pitchers behind him that are okay. They're going to feel better around him.
Oh, yeah,
there's
absolutely.
something about them, right? If they're B+ pitchers, they feel like they're an A pitcher, right? Mm-hmm. They can go out there, do some of the stuff he can. He's a natural talent, though. And, you got to respect the guy with the mustache.
Or do you?
Oh, come on.
All right. So that's the Major League. A little bit about basketball. Warriors. Stepping up, they're doing good. Kuzman still isn't back, or not Kuzman. He's still not back yet.
Kuminga
still isn't back yet. But Warriors are playing well. As long as Jimmy Ward is on the floor with Steph, they are currently 12-1 with them two on the floor together. since the trade. So they're doing well. They're currently sitting at the number 6 seed. Before Jimmy Butler was traded over there, they were hovering around the 10th seed. So that just shows you right there. Mavs done. You see Kyrie hurt.
Yeah, I saw that torn ACL out for the year.
Yeah. Rumors on that is and they just raised ticket prices there at Dallas.
That's good.
Rumor is that they're trying to get out of there and move to Vegas.
Really?
Yeah. They're speculating that they're doing the whole what the hell movie was that? Major League thing. Remember movie Major League? Let's bring in these let's get rid of our good players. Let's bring these other players in, and let's just break this whole shit up and suck for a while. And we're going to move to Vegas because the people that took over ownership, their home base is in Vegas.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know that. All right.
So there's big rumors there. Mark Cuban, they had an interview with him this past week about the whole Anthony Davis trade and everything. Apparently, he doesn't have as much say in anything.
He's minority owner
less
now.
say than what we thought. We thought he had a little say, but apparently he doesn't. He doesn't want anything to do with them right now. He was like, no, I had nothing to say about that trade. I have no say to any basketball operations right now. So
yeah, he's walking away from that.
Yeah, he's done. He checked out. It was cool for a while. That was a good story with him. Lifelong Mavs fan. Buy your favorite team, run it the way you want. No matter what they say, I'm going to do my thing. And he did a good job at it. He really did.
I guess the biggest basketball story I saw this week came off the court.
Oh,
came off the court. Yeah. Charles Barkley was on TNT.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Charles Barkley was on TNT, and he called Kendrick Perkins an idiot and a fool. It's because hold on. It's because
all of ESPN's talent.
It's because Kendrick Perkins is an idiot and a fool. He directed it right at him, and Shaq wouldn't even. Shaq's like, I don't want to get into. And Charles goes, nah, it's Kendrick Perkins. He's an idiot and a fool. And he called him an idiot and a fool because he said, the Warriors and the Lakers have saved the NBA this year. I guess by making their teams better during the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Charles Barkley's point was, if we're just going to talk about the teams in the biggest markets, let's just get rid of the teams in small markets, right? Because he said, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Cleveland Cavaliers are the best teams in the league, and they're the best young talents, and we should be talking about how far they can go in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers and the Warriors, he goes, well, come on, man. He goes, the Jordan and LeBron debate is old and tired, and it's over. You're talking about a 40-year-old on the Lakers, and then you're going over to the Golden State Warriors and a team that, they're not what they once were, and they're not totally dominant, and they're having struggles, and we get that, and we can feather them in, but we need to shift and pivot and get away from it. And he goes, all you keep doing is talk about the same old damn tired stuff over that network, and I can't wait until I get over there and we'll fix things.
Yeah.
Charles Barkley's telling Kendrick Perkins, first of all, that his job is over. Kendrick Perkins is gone. He stumbles over his tongue while he's talking about a sport that he is knowledgeable about.
The only reason why he has that job and got that job was because of Stephen A. Smith.
And so I took to Twitter because Kendrick Perkins thought it was very smart to go onto Twitter and basically threaten Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley called him an idiot and a fool playfully because he wanted him to be a better journalist and be a better TV personality. That's what he wanted. Kendrick Perkins went, when I see you, you'll know it. Don't run and hide. I actually know where you live. He threatened Charles Barkley. I know where you live. I'll be there, blah, 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 all this other stuff. So I went on there and I let Kendrick Perkins know that stating something like this on a public forum solidifies that you're an idiot and a fool. You're an absolute imbecile. You don't talk about the things for which you can. You don't brand the league correctly. You don't push the young stars. You sit there and push what ESPN wants you to push.
They regurgitate the same thing over and over and over every day. You only have to watch one show a week to know what they're going to talk about for the rest of the week.
If you came in with a new, fresh story, a new, fresh idea, you can do some things like that. but you don't. You're an absolute waste of TV time. That's what Charles Barkley should have said about Kendrick Perkins, that he's an absolute waste of TV time. They have spent millions of dollars on a segment for which you couldn't sell on a sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're not an idiot and a fool. You're just a waste of time.
Yeah. He's not an idiot or a fool. He's smart. He knows what he's talking about. He's just a waste of time. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Like, he did it playfully, and Shaq kind of put his head down because they were doing a bit, and he goes, no, I'm very serious. And he's kind of serious, but he's not calling him an idiot and a fool. He's asking him to do better journalistic work. This is lazy. They're getting lazy clicks, right? And people are still debating about the same lazy things.
But in Perkins' defense, he's not a journalist. He's an analyst. There's a difference. He's a TV personality. He's not a journalist. Stephen A. Smith is a journalist. These guys went to school for journalism. These guys are journalists. These other guys that used to play to the game, they're just analysts. They break the game down. They know what they're talking about, the X's and the O's when it comes to the game, because they played them. They played the game. They know a lot of the players. They have relationships with those players, so they're able to talk about them. Once they reach a certain age, they're no longer useful as an analyst.
Yeah, it's tough because Stephen A. was a real journalist, and now he clowns it up.
Now he's a
ESPN.
Personality. He's no longer a journalist. He's a personality.
But he's the only one with any talent.
Yes,
to be quite honest, with any real talent. To be quite honest, he's the only one that with any. Shannon Sharp has talent too.
Shannon Sharp can talk. He can talk, and he can talk well, and he does his homework.
And he can dip into areas for which are a little uncomfortable, and he does a great job of balancing. That's what I call it. A great job of balancing. The stuff that Robert Griffin would try to do as far as talking about race on the network, it was poor work. If you're going to have that conversation, you better have your ducks in a row and the work be brilliant. You can do it. It better be brilliant. It can't be half-assed. It can't be this, that, and the other thing. It has to be brilliant, and his work is brilliant. Shannon Sharp has done a lot of work, and he's a great worker. Kendrick Perkins, I don't even know where he should be working, honestly.
Like I said, the reason why he got the job and got the opportunity is because of Stephen A. Smith. He's one of Stephen A. Smith's good friends.
Well, Stephen A. got a new contract, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that contract also means that, it's great that you're a personality, but you're going to have to fire some people that aren't as talented. It's time to start doing so, right?
Yeah.
That's my NBA story this week. I was a part of the NBA on Twitter. And I stick up for Charles Barkley because he's right. Look at you're not going to be able to. You're going to be able to sell Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out of OKC for years. You're going to be able to what Donovan Mitchell's done in Cleveland and Darius Garland. You guys don't even know who he is. What these guys are doing in Cleveland, they are going head to head against the Boston Celtics, the drafted well, the bought and paid for Golden Boys in Boston. Cleveland, who we don't talk about so lovingly in football, has figured out basketball operations.
Yes, they have.
I mean, I'll knock them.
They have a down year here and there, but they retooled and they come back.
Yeah, and they're really talented. And I like the Knicks. I'm a Knicks guy. Haven't always been a Knicks guy. I was a Bulls guy. I was a Jordan guy. All that other stuff. But the Knicks always played hard nosed, and the Knicks play well too. They just don't have the right. We made a couple bad decisions, in my opinion.
The NBA is better when the Knicks are good. It just is. It's one of those storied franchises.
I don't like the Towns move. I never really liked the Towns move. I think that they should have gone or stuck with somebody tough-nosed like Randall. But Thibodeau gets along with who he gets along with, and that's a whole other story, right? But I thought they could have brought back Jimmy Butler. Maybe a great, now let's go sock them in the face, Brunson, right? Like real Knicks.
You paired Jimmy Butler and Brunson together, and what's his name?
Josh Hart.
No. Olajuwon, or what the hell's his name? A weird name.
Oh, Anunoby?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, pair him. I mean, that guy is watch out. Like, he's a special player too.
Yeah, you could have really had something. I think they made the Towns move, and it was fine, but it wasn't. But Cleveland really does a great job there, and it's Cleveland and OKC. And I'm gonna tell you, ESPN's mistake is that they're trying to talk up players and markets for which aren't as talented, right? Like people, and this is I will curse. People can smell bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to tell them for a minute or two. By a minute or two, it maybe 5-6 months, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna go, "This isn't really better." They're gonna know. People
Yeah.
figure it out. You don't think they do, right? You can BS them for a little while, and Golden State's product isn't there yet, and the Lakers, we don't know. They're still both up in the air. They didn't save anything. The NBA has been good because of the Thunder, and the NBA has been good because of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Charles Barkley was trying to highlight. Hey, let's talk about the good teams, even if they're in a small market.
Mm-hmm.
End of story. That's it.
No,
Right?
absolutely. I believe both teams, both the Lakers and Warriors, dramatically improved their chances by adding who they did. Absolutely, they made their teams way better. They're proving it. I mean, Lakers are going on a hell of a run. Warriors are going on a hell of a run. You know, they both look like really good teams, and it's really like everybody's going to have to really watch out for the Lakers for years to come because, like, they have Luka there. He's a young guy, 26 years old. Like, he's going to be a staple for a long time with the Lakers.
And at this point in their careers, you know, in other teams, there are players everywhere. Paolo Banchero, who went to Duke, right? Who's in Orlando now. Orlando got to the playoffs last year. Orlando's got a lot of young talent, right? And Paolo's a great guy. I've been lucky to be able to talk to people that have hung out with him. Signs autographs, sits there with you forever, talks with you, chats with you. At this point in his career, he is more valuable than LeBron James. Not in the biggest market. Orlando's a big market, but I'm just saying, like, you have to start looking at these things. And if you're not looking at these things and you're only willing to talk about the Lakers and Warriors, and this is no different than what ESPN does with Kansas City and Buffalo to a certain degree a little bit now. If you're only going to talk about this market, then specify. Because there's teams over here going, hey, we're pretty good. Don't we deserve some airtime?
Mm-hmm.
And they do. And it drives people like Charles Barkley nuts when you're just driving. Imagine you miss the stud and you take the hammer, right? Because this is what it is. You miss the stud right in your wall over here. And you take the hammer and you go, well, I'm just going to keep hammering the nail. It doesn't build a better house. It destroys your house, actually. Right? If you find the stud with the nail, people will believe that the product for which you're telling them is great. Now you have journalistic credibility and integrity. That's what he's begging for. He didn't really call you an idiot and a fool, but because you're so stupid, you took it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm with you. They do need to talk about more than just those two teams. It is pretty incredible what LeBron and Steph both are doing at their age, the points that they're putting up. Nice story, but it's part of the story of the NBA and only part of it. I'm with you. They need to start talking about more of these teams. Boston's one of the best teams in the NBA too, and you don't hear much about them either. And they're defending NBA champions.
Justin Verlander just signed with the San Francisco Giants. You see baseball talking about Verlander this, Verlander that?
Nothing. No.
Nothing. You didn't even know he wasn't in Houston anymore. He's 40.
Is he?
Don't we want to
I
talk?
thought he was older than 40. I thought he was older than 40. It just seems like he's been in Major League Baseball like forever.
And he's in the top, I think, 10 strikeouts of all time pitching. So shouldn't we be talking about him?
Oh, absolutely.
No. Absolutely not. But if it was the NBA, they'd go, oh, Justin Verlander, do you think you're going to have 145 strikeouts this year to break the... It's silly. Jokic's record. We can talk about Jokic.
Yeah.
30-20-20. Let's Chef Nick, you're on here all the time. You're a fantastic supporter of ours. Chef Nick, 4887. I don't know where you find that handle, but go find it, like, and subscribe, whatever he does. Jokic's 30-20-20 is for real. He's probably... he you know what, Jokic? I think he could have gone one-on-one with Shaq. He's a big dude, and Shaq was big. But I'm saying at those times, I would have loved to see Shaq in his prime against a Jokic go just hammering each other. That would have been
nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because Shaq for what he was couldn't pass.
No.
He couldn't handle. And I'm not saying Joker's the greatest handle, but he handles pretty well. 30, 20, and 20. I'm always assists are taking care of your teammates. Scoring, is it's a you thing depending on when you did it. But rebounds is effort.
Yeah.
I mean, Jokic leaves the game with 7 new scratches on his body every night.
Mm-hmm.
7 new scratches. He's got blood coming off of half of his arms. I mean, 30, 20, and 20 is special. Dude is a monster in every aspect. Monumental. Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know if he will, but I would say hopefully he goes down as a top 10 center of all time.
He definitely could be. Absolutely.
Got a lot of good ones out there. It's tough to climb that. I always say
that's the thing. He needs longevity. He needs more time. If he can keep up with the numbers that he is over a prolonged period of time, then yeah. But if you're just there has been too many flashes in the pans where we get 2 good years out of somebody, 3 good years out of somebody, and that's it. And NBA history forgets about you. So let's just see him do this over a prolonged period of time, and then we could put him in the all-time greats conversation.
I always say he's Arvydas Sabonis, but just in obviously a lighter NBA, and he's probably a little bit more skilled than Arvydas was because Arvydas came over and he was 40, right? So 17, 9, and 8 is pretty good. When you're running around, obviously his son DeMontis is an excellent player as well, but much smaller than his father. That's the reality of it. Jokic is really he's special. He's a special player and a tough player in a league full of weak players.
Mm-hmm.
I saw another flop from LeBron the other day. The elbow came up. He acted like he got crushed in the face, like he was. You know what he should do? This would be a theory. What I think he should do. He should have a blood capsule on him at all times. Like the WWF wrestlers. Don't you laugh at me because I think this is a tremendous idea, right? Because so when he goes to look at the head, right, or a razor blade, if you could just have a little razor blade.
I was just going to say, what, like a razor blade, or maybe like a little pin in there, and the tape just go like that real quick.
It's not the worst idea because the fouls for what he's looking for look like Ric Flair just dying on the mat. I mean, that's why someone needed to get in his ear years ago. He's been doing it for 5 years. That LeBron flop was ridiculous, right? And
the worst one I ever seen was I forget who it was, but the elbow came right like this and like was this far away from LeBron, and like he jumps backwards, falls on the floor, and like he was just knocked out. And then the replay shows it, and like he was never even touched. The guy was like 6 inches from his head.
And so here's why people. I'm gonna tell you. Here's why people respect Michael Jordan over LeBron James. He's better basketball, whatever. Get rid of the basketball. Michael went through wars. There are highlights of literally Bill Laimbeer clotheslining him and throwing him to the ground. Michael would get up, he'd stare at him, and then he'd walk to the free throw line and hit both free throws. That was one game. The whole game had happened.
Dude, and sometimes the bad boy Pistons,
and Michael Jordan's reward for getting past the bad boy Pistons once he finally did was having to deal with the bad boy Knicks and the bad boy, by the way, the Davis brothers in Indianapolis for years. These teams, are you out of your mind? They were built like stone men. Anthony Davis and Dale Davis. Oh my God. And Reggie Miller was no party. And John Starks, no party. I mean, this is the reward that this man got.
John Starks. Oh, I can't stand that guy.
Yeah, but he'd kill you.
Oh, I got a little story for you about him.
But hold on. So LeBron James doesn't do those things. We love Michael because we lived the wars with him. And he won, and he came out victorious. Bloodied, battered, and beaten, and he just went to the weight room. LeBron James doesn't go through any real wars. In fact, when iron met iron, he went to Miami. Every time he wanted to, and he's always complained about what he doesn't have. I'm going to tell you, he actually played with an all-star in Cleveland, and he was named to the all-star team. His name was Larry Hughes. It was Larry Hughes. So for everybody that goes, oh, well, he didn't have anything, that might be the brand he puts out there. Michael Jordan's brand is, I'll play with nothing, and come out on top. Don't give me anything, because if you give me something, I'm taking all of it. LeBron James is begging for he's sitting there with the cup on the side of the freeway going, I have no, I've been drinking all day, but sure, please, can I have some more? That's what he is.
One of the worst things about his flops, though, is that he outweighs most NBA players by 50 to 100 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you, even at your age of 40, whatever he is, 40, what, 2, something like that, you know, he is still built. He is still a stature of a man.
He's a Saint Bernard that lets Chihuahuas run the block. That's what he is.
Yes,
it's just
absolutely.
All right, I'm burned.
Yeah, that's all I got today. And ended on LeBron flop over here. You know, Le flop. But listen, as much as we want to give him crap for it, what he is doing at his age is truly a show. You have to admit that.
Yeah, it's a show.
You know, it really is. Like, it really is. Listen, I'm 49. Like, I appreciate the way he moves around on that court.
Yeah, I would appreciate it a lot more if I didn't know for a fact that it was performance enhanced.
Well, you know,
there was a UFC fighter that came out. I don't have his name offhand, but he came out and he goes, everybody got mad the other week, and LeBron James got mad that I was on this podcast and casually said that he was on steroids or PEDs. And, he came and he said, oh, what do you know about me and all these other things? He goes, brother, I'm on PEDs. I'm on replacement hormones. He goes, I watched you walk out of the same office that I walked into. You weren't getting a Band-Aid in there. You came out with a Band-Aid. It's just, and he's like, and I don't care. And he goes, maybe the NBA doesn't care and their entertainment people don't care, but let's not pretend like it's all natural.
Yeah, but there's a difference. He could be getting TRT, Once you reach a certain age, getting testosterone replacement therapy isn't PEDs anymore. You're just putting what's already in your body.
But it is not allowed in the NBA.
This guy here did.
Kyle Sonnen. Yep. Yeah. He knows. Yep. Yeah. That's who it was. And he was honest. And he goes, and by the way, you can't get those replacements and be in the NBA. That's also on their list. And his whole thing was he's like, I'm not even mad. He goes, you know what's crazy? He goes, I said it on like a 10th best podcast. I was just hanging out with my buddy and he put it out there or whatever. He's like, that's how many people he has watching on the internet, like really worried about his image. He goes, look, you ain't Mike, and you're a fantastic basketball player. What else do you want?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And just it's a bit different, and they were talking about this. I forget on what sports show, but the difference in pressure that the athletes are under nowadays than previous years, because just of social media alone, how much just everything's instantaneously. You see what everybody is saying about you. You're reading the comments. It's a lot more brutal now than it was back then.
You know what's insane though? You know what the truth is? When it gets too far out of control, right? When you're not having whatever, it's just too much for you. You can just retire. I mean, that's the real thing I've learned from Michael Jordan, right? When it was just overwhelming and it felt like everything was about to turn negative, he went, you know what? I quit. I'm just going to go do something else. People are like, oh my God, you can't. We had like 7 stories that we're going to write negative. He goes, no, go ahead, write them. That's going to be bad for basketball. Not bad for me. He controlled a negative narrative, right? The negative narrative was coming his way.
I wonder how it would have been with him back then if there was social media around.
He would have owned it. He was so good on a microphone. He was so good in an interview. If you watch those Ahmad Rashad interviews, you're like, Jesus, man, he's great. He is so polished. He took certain classes. Dean Smith made him do it, actually. He took certain classes at North Carolina to become a polished interviewee. He smokes cigars now. He always smoked them, right? But he smokes cigars because when the cigar is done, so is the interview. Like Mike's on one. And he's way ahead of you. He's gotten involved with 10 people that know 30 smart things per person. And he just collects it. That's what he's done. He's not quite opening the first page to a book and pretending like he's reading.
Yeah, it's just different. It's like I the same thing I look at like school kids. Like, how much more difficult it is for kids to be in school these days because of social media than back when we were kids. Like when we were done with school, we were done with school except for our little clique of friends. Now you're not done with school. Anything that's going on is still going on social media. If you're being bullied at school, a person doesn't like you, that shit's still going on social media. Even
For
if you don't want to be friends with the person that's doing it, it's still other people are seeing it in your school. It's still becoming a mental factor.
for a kid, yes, it's a little different. For an adult, you could just at that level, you could just quit and you're still in the biggest house on the planet, right? Like that's my whole like
I,
people
I'm,
can say whatever
I'm
they
just
want.
simply, but I mean, not everybody's a LeBron. You know what I mean? I even if, like say you're the 10th person on the bench. Like it's just tougher for the people nowadays. I think
Then you're only
even
gonna get
the
the 50th
athletes in
best
general.
cheerleader.
What's that?
Then you're only gonna get the 50th best cheerleader. You son of a-
Like,
Did you
believe me,
play
I'm
today?
not crying over them. They're making money. I'm just simply stating, as far as the mental aspect of the game is way different now than it was back then.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah, I agree.
criticized a lot more. Like they're criticized all the time.
I know I'm out of breath from booing them, actually.
All right. We've been going on here for almost 2 hours.
All right. Guys, we'll see you back here next week. Every Point
uh,
Sports podcast
Next Monday.
next
Monday.
Monday. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
because Sunday I have a banquet dinner I have to work. So
Ooh, banquet
yeah,
dinner.
the school's having a banquet dinner for their football team. So Chef
Ooh,
Nick and I are
not
uh,
ne-
are
not
looking
not
for it.
next Monday. Not next Monday. I work next Monday.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
figure
So
something out
then,
throughout the week. We'll figure out
yeah,
something.
we'll figure out. Just keep guys. Listen, if you are subscribed to us, just make sure you hit that notification on, and then you'll see every time when we are hopping on.
Till
But on
next
that end,
time on the
have a
Everpoint
great night,
Sports
guys.
Podcast.
Be excellent to each other.